Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, all two of you. We're very happy to have you here. My name is John Santo from Film Geek Primer, and with me is a very special guest, a man who I truly love and admire, who we worked together on a show called Pop Culture Cast. Was that the title of it?
Yeah, PCC, Pop Culture Clash.
PCC, yeah, on ye old GameTrailers.com. The annoyed gamer himself, Mr. Marcus Beer. Marcus, man, how you holding up?
I'm doing good, mate. I'm doing good. I gotta say, I missed our Thursday morning recordings of the PCC and sitting there with you and Jeremy and dragging Elise in for the snow, whatchamacallit, movie update.
Yeah, the Snowpiercer update.
Yeah. I do miss those. I miss those probably more than anything else that I've ever done. So it's nice to be able to talk to you and talk about something that is very dear to both our hearts.
Yeah, it's of course since Elise isn't here to give us a Snowpiercer update, it will be released this summer theatrically in its original form. So we'll get that out of the way real quick.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. But so we're going to discuss The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Which opened this weekend in the States to approximately $92 million as of this recording. Official numbers yet to be released. $3 million less than Captain America: The Winter Soldier, which opened, just over a month and a half ago?
Yeah.
Now, Marcus, you saw it. Did you see it? You caught like a Thursday screening, right?
Yeah, I managed to catch a Thursday screening that they tacked on at the ArcLight in Pasadena, and it surprised me because they had. It turned out they had like half a dozen showings, but our screening was more than 2/3 empty, to be honest with you.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you of course tweeted afterwards that you wished that we had the show to chat about it, and I of course asked what score you would give it. Now you PM'd me with a two score with two different potential scores,
Yeah.
A 4 and a 7. So let's just delve right into it. Which means there are bits that you like, there are bits that you don't like. So let's hear it.
Well, actually, I would actually like to know, because you've seen it since.
Yes.
Do you agree with my 4 and 7?
I would go less than a 4 on the parts that I didn't like, and I would say yeah, probably around a 7. There are moments that maybe even hit an 8, but those moments are so few and far between. That's a little tiny number out there in the stratosphere somewhere. Would definitely say though it's definitely lower than a 4 for me on stuff. So let's hear it.
Yeah. So should we start with the bad news and then go from there so we can finish on some sort of high point, I suppose?
Yeah, let's do that.
I mean, look, the movie's a mess.
Mm.
They have 8,043 different plot points that they are trying to weave together. They are obviously trying to kickstart a Sinister Six movie at the same time as keep the Spider-Man story going. I mean, it doesn't even open very well. I mean, the movie itself doesn't start very well, and I'm guessing you're watching this, you've seen the film. I mean, there's going to be spoilers in this discussion. I mean, we're going to have some.
Yeah, let me say right off the bat is that if you haven't seen the film and you don't want to have spoilers, tune out and come back later because we have to get into this. But to be perfectly honest, if you don't want to see the movie, if you haven't seen the film yet, don't. And just listen to the bullshit we got to spout because it's probably going to be slightly more entertaining than the 2-hour and 20-minute running time of that thing.
And it won't cost you, $15 a head.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So really quick, since you mentioned the opening scene really quick, the opening scene is fucking atrocious. The opening scene is ridiculously stupid and opens. It's a quick flashback of Richard Parker, not to be confused with Richard Parker from Life of Pi, and his wife leaving Peter yet again as a kid, and it does a quick little recap of that so they can squeeze in some Martin Sheen footage, and then they get onto an airplane which is actually being controlled by bad people. A fight ensues, which is a horrible fight, and they have incredible Wi-Fi. That's basically the opening.
And this was, I mean, if Spider-Man is set in modern times and he is 18, this is set about 10 years ago in his and being able to connect to the internet back in 2004 from a private jet and have to send a huge video file.
Yeah.
That's all he's trying to do is send a friggin' video file. It's not like these are the secrets to the universe. Here, this is me. This is basically him uploading a YouTube video apologizing 10 years ago. Yeah, I mean, let's talk about how. Right, plot holes number one. These are the. This is the guy who is running away with his wife. He's abandoned his kid. He gets a private plane.
Yeah, weird, right?
I mean, why is Peter Parker? I mean, we find out a bit later on that Aunt May has to work a second job to make ends meet and put Peter through college. If the dad had private jet money, why was Ben and May struggling to make ends meet? And we do find out even more stuff a little further down the line about the dad. And I'm thinking, this guy must have been rolling in it. Where did he get this from? Because you know what I'm talking about. When we saw it in the trailer, the dad has a disused subway station with an underground, literally coming out of the ground, a train with all this computer equipment on it. And that's not exactly something you can build in your weekends off after going to Home Depot.
Yeah. No, I agree with you 100%. It's so, yeah. Where's the trust fund for Peter? We don't know.
Well, perhaps that's the thing. Dad picked it away on an underground rail station in a private jet rental.
Right.
But I mean, this just sums up the untold origins of Peter Parker bullshit that we had to put up with in the first one, and they've decided to really push through in this one. This is plot strand number one that they could basically strip away, roll up into a ball, and throw out the fucking window as far as I'm concerned, because it's a total waste of everybody's time, doesn't really contribute to anything, except that, some really freaky connection that Peter's DNA is the only thing that works with the spiders.
Well, that's the other thing, is that it completely fucks up his mythology. I mean, you want to play with something, that's fine, but by taking away the everyman aspect of Peter Parker becoming Spider-Man, and as a matter of fact, it was our close acquaintance and friend of ours, Kyle Bossman, actually will not see the movie now after hearing that fact, because it removes our opportunity of possibly becoming Spider-Man. Right.
Yeah, well, I remember shopping for a Halloween costume last year and bumping into Kyle looking for a Spider-Man costume in Pasadena in Target. So I know how much he loves his Spider-Man.
Yeah. Oh no, he wears it and cries under his desk every morning now.
Yeah. So I mean, that's just the first thing. Look, I've got no problem with people messing with the canon a little to improve or make it a little more realistic or whatever. I mean, you look at what Nolan did with Batman.
Sure.
Excuse me. And I think that works. You look at how Iron Man was handled, and Captain America, and Thor, and the Avengers, and they work. You have suspension of disbelief, but the little tweaks they make don't exactly, they add to the movies, they don't take away. This, I think the only reason Sony hired Mark Webb is because of his last name. This is the guy who did 500 Days of Summer, who basically wants to turn Spider-Man into a romantic movie, full of pathos, and we're talking about Spider-Man here. We're not talking about the most brooding of superheroes. Yeah, he's a kid who's got problems, but he's a wisecracker. He's got some really colorful villains, and let's talk about the villains, because that's the next throwaway. This whole kickstarting the Sinister Six.
Yeah.
We start off with the guy who will be Rhino, otherwise known as that dude from Sideways who is totally wasted. I mean, it starts off, after you get through the totally unnecessary flashback. Spider-Man's on his way to his graduation, and somebody's stolen a truck full of radioactive stuff that just happens to be driving through Midtown, which I'm sure is against so many local laws it's not even funny, because of course having a great big lab right in the middle, of Midtown Manhattan is always a smart move. But the guy who's driving it, Paul Giamatti, he's a good actor.
Yeah.
But the whole thing, when Spider-Man starts talking to him, it's like, oh, wind down the window. Who are you? It's like, I am Killer.
Yeah. Oh, Oh, you want to talk about this movie is riddled with weird bad accents. The whoever played the German doctor in the asylum.
Oh
Uh,
yes.
yeah, we owe an apology to Germany for that one, and that's something I never thought I would ever say.
Yeah, I thought. I mean, I was expecting them to come out with Octavius, you
Hmm.
know, and that would have made a little bit of sense. But the guy then gets, well, something happens to him. But yeah, I mean, but that's the thing. We see this guy who, plays this Russian mobster slash monster. We don't know why he's stealing the plutonium because he doesn't really look the sort to the criminal mastermind to say, I have uses for that plutonium.
Yeah, agreed.
It'd go great in my vodka. Um, so he's there, and then we don't see him again for 2 hours and 18 minutes. So you've got one of the best actors in America, a really good actor, who turns up to bookend a movie and
Yeah.
is a total throwaway at the very end. So that's another plot point that's a total joke, and it goes on from there. I mean, yes, we know this is the Gwen Stacy story. Do we need continuous shots of Captain Stacy haunting Spider-Man? Oh, I'm at the graduation. Ooh, I'm driving in a car. Ooh, I mean, seriously, that's the only thing that's missing is, him going like this. Ooh, Peter, you promised.
Yeah,
I mean,
it is that bad. It's very close to that.
yeah, there's so many things wrong. I mean, let's look at all right. Let's look at Andrew Garfield. Andrew Garfield is a great Spider-Man. I think he gets the quip stuff. He's got the physicality. We know there's a lot of CGI in there as well, and we'll talk about one of the CGI issues in a minute. But he's got the physicality when he's interacting with people, in the Times Square scene. It is a Garfield, and he's doing well. But then as Peter Parker, I don't remember Peter Parker being that cocky. I don't remember Peter Parker tackling a graduation scene like that. I don't remember him ever having so much super confidence and being the ultra cool dude. I mean, he was the nerd. He was the outsider. Even when he was working at the Bugle and going off to college, he was not exactly Mr. Suave. Look at me, I'm the most awesome guy in school. And yet, all of a sudden, he's planting a huge kiss on the valedictorian, and just look at me, blah blah. That's not Peter Parker to
Yeah,
me.
it's a weird decision. Also, the other thing is which I don't know what this is kind of happening a little bit more with Superman Returns. The stalkery point of Peter Parker, which is the keeping the eye on Gwen Stacy, and then when he basically admits that he's been kind of watching her all this time after this breakup, that she's cool with that. It's like no problem. You've kind of been emotionally unstable. We broke up. And now you've been watching me all the time. Oh, that must mean love. And that's stuff like that just doesn't fucking work at all.
It does
Uh,
send out a really bad message.
yeah, it's just a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, 10, 15, 20 years ago, it could have been like, oh, he's watching over me, blah, blah, blah. But in this day and age where you have stalkers, cyber stalkers, it's a bit much. It
Yeah.
is a bit much and a bit creepy. Um, should we perhaps break and talk about a couple of the good things?
Yeah, okay. I'll tell you what. Since you probably it seems like you have a few more good things to talk about than I do. The one good thing, like I said, I think some of the Spider-Man stuff did work. I think when he's hanging off the edge of when Paul Giamatti is doing his horrible Russian bit, but Peter is or Spider-Man as Spider-Man, he's doing the whole little hanging out, ducking down through the side and chatting and doing the little, his little Spidey shtick every so often. That felt a little bit more in tune with what I was expecting from a Spider-Man. I'm trying to think of other moments throughout. There are a couple of moments when he's doing the general crime-fighting scene, the montage, and he saves the kid from the bullies, and you see them walking down the alleyway at the end. That's kind of like a classic framed Spider-Man shot from the comics. That to me felt a lot purer than a lot of the other stuff felt. Most of it feels really cheap, but it even kind of looks cheap, awkwardly enough. I mean, even just the regular non-CG stuff. So there are moments that work. I don't know if they are Mark Webb's deal or the sheer fact that Emma Stone and Andrew Garfield have so much chemistry that gives it a little bit of a boost. But you know, as we now know, and it's now of course all over the internet, that chemistry is not going to mean shit anymore. So who cares?
Unless Mary Jane is now being played by Emma Stone in the next movie.
Yeah, they're just gonna
natural redhead.
Yeah,
I agree with you, and I mean I think this goes back to the point of him being a really good Spider-Man. That bit on the truck, you know, even when he's talking to Electro that first time, the chemistry between the two of them, it obviously seems to help that they are, you know, a couple in real life because they do have a chemistry. You can feel something between them that's really cool. Unfortunately, the whole issue, you know, she's going to Oxford. What, you know, I'm moping around. It just really drags down the rest of the film. But high point for me, I think a lot of the action sequences worked.
Yeah.
I thought, you know, there's a little bit of dodgy CGI in spaces, but I think, again, it's down to perhaps the voiceover and the characteristics of Garfield, where a lot of the action looks good and the, you know, swinging around. The one downside I didn't like, there was one section where it was almost like the camera was on his crotch, attached to his crotch and looking up at his face.
Yeah,
that's a little bit creepy. Penis cam. That's not what that eye is for. But, you know, apart from that, I thought the action was pretty good. And the other thing I'll say that I liked was, you know, before he turned into Werewolf Boy, is Harry Osborn. I thought that initial Harry Osborn sent away by his father when he came back, and, you know, before things got a little complicated, I thought that actor was actually really doing a good job as Harry. Way better perhaps than Franco.
Yeah, I like Dane DeHaan, who plays Harry Osborn. I like Dane DeHaan a lot. This is another one of those issues where I don't know if it was his performance that I didn't care much for or the script that he was given. Because of course it's a really the whole thing about him and Peter being old friends. It's everything feels really forced. There's nothing organic about the screenplay, unfortunately. So when they get together and they do the whole little rock skipping scene and everything else like that, there are like moments that you're there within a scene. There'll be little moments that you're like, oh, that was nice, you know. That you see a little bit of bonding there, but it just nothing feels natural about anything that takes place between them. I did like talk about another waste of an actor. I did like the Chris Cooper DeHaan scene.
Oh, the cameo.
Yeah, the weird, where it's like, let's get Chris Cooper to sit here and just be angry. For some reason, they don't trim his fingernails. I'm not sure what that was all about.
I'm wondering if that was actually a leftover, perhaps, from some of the lizard stuff, because it looked kind of reptilian.
Oh, interesting, yeah.
That could have been it, because obviously we know that there's an issue, you know, an issue with the serum. We know he tried it. Maybe it is the precursor to the Green Goblin. You know, because we see what happens to Harry when he goes on, you know, all nuts and gets the serum. I take your point. I mean, you know, in the books, they have been friends all the way through school. They get each other, you know, they have each other's backs as science nerds. And again, to go from, you know, I haven't seen you in 8 years, 10 years, whatever it is, you know, especially when you go from 8 to 18 or 8 to 20, you know, 20 or whatever Harry is, he's a little bit older. I don't know about you, but if I haven't, you know, if I'm 18 and I haven't seen somebody in 10 years, I'm not really the whole, you know, huggy, let's go skip rocks together. I mean, especially if one of them is super duper rich. I mean, and, you know, it feels like they were trying to cram 3 movies into one.
Oh, they were definitely trying to cram more than 3 movies into one, is what it felt like. And really, overall, much like it's like the first movie felt like, okay, it's setting up the second movies. You're like, fine, I'll let certain problems with the first one go because they're supposed to, because this is all franchise building and that's the way these things are done these days. They aren't actual movies anymore. And so, but the second one now just feels like yet another setup for another film.
Another 6 movies.
Exactly. God, oh my lord, I can't deal with that.
I mean, the one thing that this does well is make you appreciate the first one a lot more. It makes the first Amazing Spider-Man look like, you know, Batman Begins.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. No. This one actually makes Spider-Man 3 look good, which is a tough thing to pull off.
Yeah. Well, apparently the rumor is doing the rounds that that final scene with Rhino
Hmm.
was originally Venom, because they're trying to get a Venom solo movie off and running, and they actually had to cut it because they couldn't quite. Thankfully, they couldn't quite cram that one in on top of everything else.
Right.
Um, but all right, so let's go to I think perhaps back on the bad stuff again, and probably the most disappointing aspect, because you and I and Jeremy had this discussion on the PCC when we looked at the trailer, the first trailer that was released that showed only 60% of the movie.
Yeah.
And we talked about Jamie Foxx as Electro. And I had faith in Jamie Foxx because I do think he can be a great wisecracking actor. He can do different portrayals. I mean, he's not the world's greatest, but he's still a bloody fine actor, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, he's a very solid actor. I mean, we can't deny that the man has talent and skills.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it looks like his prep for this movie was watching Jim Carrey as the Riddler in, was it Batman Forever?
Batman Forever, yeah, and that's where we get into the whole weird. There's a lot of Joel Schumacher-y kind of feel to this movie.
Yeah, yeah, it's yeah. I mean the creepy wall thing. I
Yeah.
mean, I honestly, literally had the song that plays in Batman Forever when Jim Carrey, is fired and goes into his really weird, very narrow house, and that song plays, the creepy song. I heard that playing as I watched, the Electro character go into his house and look at this stuff on the wall and the birthday stuff.
Oh,
And
the birthday thing was fucking ridiculous. I mean, that was total Jim Carrey from Batman Forever. I have no friends. Somebody pay attention to me. Kind of shtick.
yeah, well, there's also Jim Carrey, Cable Guy.
Yeah, yeah. But see, at least that one had purpose.
Yeah,
This one, I mean, this was just, and it's weird because it's like Electro's entire motivation is people can't remember my name. I mean, it's almost, I mean, the motivation is, no, I think it's worse than the lizards because at least in the first one, okay, sure, he's missing an arm. It seems kind of crazy that he wants to turn everybody into lizards because of that, but at least he's got some physical issue with him and not just kind of some social issues, I guess.
yeah. That was disappointing. And then when you looked at when you get to the final battle between Spider-Man and Electro at the big power plant, and Electro zapping back and forth. I had a flashback to another superhero movie, the Ang Lee Hulk movie, where the Absorbing Man,
Right, yeah.
is the bad guy, and you see Hulk, in lightning flashes, and that's what that felt like to me. It was almost like Mark Webb has just gone through, bad superhero movies 101 to just pick these amazing little bits and not realize that there is a way to do homages, and you do it with good movies. You
Yeah, well,
don't put the bad stuff in.
Well, some people just like bad movies. Maybe that's his angle. Now, here's something that was so I've heard a lot of people say, and I agree completely, is that if you remove Electro from this movie, it changes none of the movie. And it's odd because really, much like we talked about with the father scenario, you could remove any of these plot lines because none of them tie into each other. None of them have anything to do with one another. You could kind of say the father and the Harry Osborn thing work together because at least the parents were scientists. The Electro thing is absolutely useless, and apparently he needs to become a superhero to destroy the grid that he was ignored for helping create, even though really anybody can go and do it. It's sitting right out there in public. Anybody can go in there with a couple sticks of dynamite and blow that fucker up.
And not only that, I mean, he's an electrical-based creature now who destroys the one source of electricity in New York.
Yeah.
Isn't that kind of cutting off your nose to spite your face?
And now, did they show it before that scene, like any time during the movie? Was there any lead up to that? Because all of a sudden there's this exterior shot, and I'm like, what the fuck is that thing over there? Oh, that's the electrical grid that they've been talking about. It's crappy world building, is what it is.
Yeah, they mention it, a few times, and you see blueprints. And although in this day and age, again, is somebody going to walk around Midtown Manhattan with a big arm with 30 rolls of blueprints?
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of computerized, and it just seems like, oh, we've got a plot hole here. How do we fill this? And or we've got a gap here. Let's do it. Let's just put some visual in there, and it turned into quite probably the worst Spider-Man movie since. Well, I'd go back to the 1970s Spider-Man.
That TV movie.
Yeah, the one where he's in Hong Kong.
Yep.
That's on the same level as this. I mean, it's such a shame. It really is. But I think it just taps into, especially after coming off the high that was Winter Soldier.
Right.
And again, this was something else I would love to have sat and talked to you about, because Winter Soldier. I mean, I came to it late because when it opened, I was actually in Mexico on vacation. But wow, what a great film!
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, second only to Avengers, which is still my favorite Marvel film. I mean, I've watched or rewatched Avengers about a dozen times. But yeah, Winter Soldier, especially tying into Shield as well. That's how it's done right. And then this is how it's not done. And I honestly, I think that if Disney and Marvel have any sense and want to protect their IPs, they should go to Sony and say, look, let us produce the movies. You can distribute them. We'll take our cut, but we will choose the director and the stars and the scripts for these movies, and we will get them out. And you don't have to invest anything. You'll get money just for distributing it. We'll take it from this end because we want to protect our franchise so much, because you're fucking up. You're fucking it up on such a great height. And this is scaring me for Days of Future Past. That was, my must-see film of the summer. And I am beginning to get a little worried because, I mean, we're talking about a different studio in Fox,
sure,
but we're also still talking about the studio that did X3 and The Wolverine and, was it X-Men Origins Wolverine?
X-Men Origins Wolverine, yeah. Well, so Avi Arad, I believe, who's the producer of the Spider-Man movies, odds are he's not going to let that sucker go without a fight. So I don't think there's any way that Marvel could even strike some deal. Whatever the money would cost would probably be prohibitive to them. But also, it's been 5 movies in 12 years for Spider-Man. It's a little too much. It's a little oversaturated. I mean, within less than 12 years, we've had a reboot. In 10 years, we had a reboot, which basically in the first movie told us everything that we got from Raimi's first film. And part of me kind of feels like it's burnt. It's a little bit of burnout. They need to kind of, pack them in mothballs for 5 or 6 years and just give them a break. I mean, if of course, Sony can't do that or they're going to lose them. But yeah, it's a tragic mess. And of course, the other thing that really kind of seems odd is that the Green Goblin only exists for the climax of the film. I mean, he doesn't even he basically pops in just for spoilers. Here we go, folks, big time. The death of Emma Stone's character. I don't want to say Mary. Thank you. I keep on wanting to say Mary Jane. But yeah, so the death of Gwen Stacy, which is horrible in itself too, because of the as she's falling and Peter shoots his web and the little web is shooting down. You get this shot and the web spreads out like a hand trying to reach her, and that last little shot. Okay, she hit the ground, right?
Well, that's the thing. The web hits her, but it's got enough tension, like a bungee cord, so that her head cracks the ground and she breaks her neck or whatever it is, because there's he catches her that little bit too late, which is part of the comic where she's the web, and is it the throw that kills the fall that kills her, or is it the jerking back when there's too much tension in the web in the comic, not enough tension in the web in the movie, and either way the poor girl gets killed. So she just can't catch a break.
Right, but that was the nice thing about the comic is that it's clear that even though he tries to save her, even though he does save her, he doesn't save her.
Yeah.
Which where in this one it's I wouldn't even say it's left up for debate. In this one, it's just simply time. He fucks up time, and that's one of the themes throughout the entire movie is time. It's always about time. Harry Osborn's only got so much time. Peter Parker's relationship, there's only so much time before he loses Gwen. And of course, at the end, he's literally pulling the gears on a giant clock. trying to stop time so he can make sure the web doesn't snap and she stays alive. And of course, it's she dies because he gets there just a little too late. Whereas with the comic, which made that really nice, that her death, which makes death great, which made her death really nice in the comic, is that he saves her, but he doesn't save her, right? Yeah. And that's kind of the beauty of that bit.
Yeah, and of course they're really, really subtle with the the imagery, the whole time thing. Yeah. I mean, they really are. I mean, they're as subtle as the Rhino.
Oh yeah.
It's they have to, and I think this is the difference between the Marvel-produced movies now and the third-party produced movies. The third-party produced movies treat people like they're morons. They don't pretend to give the audience any semblance of knowledge or about the movie, even though, as you said, everybody who knows who Spider-Man is. And who'd have thought? If we'd have sat down 5 years ago for a conversation and said, okay, Spider-Man movie, death of Gwen Stacy, the introduction of Green Goblin and Rhino versus a Captain America movie. And Captain America would make more in its first weekend than Spider-Man.
Oh yeah, nobody would have believed that one.
Yeah, we'd be locked away. We really, we'd be locked up in the comic book geeky nerdy loony bin, which is the same as the regular one, only we get Star Wars pajamas. Right. It's such a wasted opportunity. And if they've got any sense, they have to fire Mark Webb. Because the guy just really doesn't have a clue. I mean, 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Yeah, I got to tell you. Well, and not only that, but it was longer too because, of course, they cut out Shailene Woodley. Shailene Woodley, is that her name?
Yeah, Mary Jane.
The Mary Jane character was cut out. There were reshoots on this, and now I don't think Webb is to blame here. Actually, Webb is to some extent a gun for hire. I mean, this is very much, and it feels very much like a corporate movie. I mean, maybe there was a solid script when this thing started, but people were like, no, we've got to make sure that this is in there because this is what we're going to do in the future, and we've got to make sure that's there, and this has to happen, and blah 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 blah. And it just feels like it is a script by committee. And Kurtzman and Orsi, who have luckily split up, are
the moviegoers.
Yeah. It's just they. How do I express this? I feel rage. No. That they are, that it's that all they were yes men, and all they kind of seem to be are yes men, which is we can put a script together and anything you want to put in there, we'll rework it, and it just turns into this giant fucking mess that nobody wins with. I mean, I guess it's weird to live in a world where we sit there and go $92 million over the weekend. That didn't do great. And it's bullshit because, of course, the thing's going to make $500 million worldwide by the time it's over, or however much it's going to make. It's still going to show something of a profit, but it's not worth. I mean, I wish, and we paid for it. I wish we could find a way to not pay for this stuff to send a message.
A legal way to not pay for. Not pay for this film. Yeah, you're right. It does feel like movie by committee. But I will say that a lot of the blame, sits with Webb, because if he'd have done a brilliant first Amazing Spider-Man and then you had this, you could say, okay, well, there's obviously they wanted to put all these reboots and stuff in there, and they want these movies preps for Sinister Six and Venom, etc. But the first Amazing Spider-Man was not that great.
No, agree.
And so we're 2 for 2 with Mark Webb. He's probably a very nice guy. Most people are very nice people.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, to put this out there, this is Webb is the new Schumacher. He is the new Schumacher. The only thing that was missing was nipples on the spider costume.
Yeah, I would say he's the new Schumacher, even though Schumacher's actually done some decent movies before the Batman stuff came out. I feel sorry for the guy because you can tell that he was brought in for a person who could deal with the relationship stuff, because he did 500 Days of Summer, which is fine.
It's a cute movie. It was a cute movie, but I'm sorry, 500 Days of Summer to Spider-Man. Again, I mean, for the first time around, you give them the chance, but after this, Sony needs to say, you go bye-bye. And it's really funny because this is the same Sony that has the Bond franchise and has been working with Eon Productions to bring Sam Mendes back for the next Bond film. So they have this capability of being able to execute and reinvigorate franchises, because I think the Bond reboot has been one of the best ones going. They're used to changing, lead actors and lead roles, and they don't have to do a friggin' origin story every time. So maybe Sony needs to go and look at their own product there and say, all right, well, this is what we need to do. And they shouldn't be afraid, honestly, to go to Marvel. And, Avi Arad is obviously trying to just keep his fingers in some sort of Marvel thing, because obviously he was part of Marvel for a long time, and then, he got the shunt, and Kevin, was it Feige?
Yeah.
He's taken over and has steered Marvel into this unprecedented golden era. I think if they're going to do a Spider, I mean, ideally, put it in mothballs, work out a deal with Disney and Marvel, and figure out a way to do this so that, they don't have to spend any money and they just get money back for nothing, because I think they will kill Spider-Man. They will kill the franchise stone dead because people are just sick of it.
So, so rating on 1 to 10 without having to be able to do your little dual score kind of thing. And actually, do me a favor. What I don't know if you mentioned some of the other stuff that really worked for you. Was there anything else?
I mean, it was mainly the action. It was Garfield as Spider-Man. It was the chemistry with Emma Stone. I mean, Sally Field, as Aunt May. I thought, she was great, and again, woefully underused in this one. The guy, like I said, the guy who played Harry, I would love to have seen that fleshed out. You could have thrown away Rhino. You could have thrown away the precursor story of the parents and the underground train, and just focused more on on Harry and Gwen and that sort of thing. And that would have been a character-driven story that would have been great.
Yeah.
The fact that we have 3 endings to the movie. I mean, it's again, oh, look, Return of the Kings. They had, the Return of the King. They had 36,000 endings in that. Let's do it with this one. Well, beating Electro. Oh, and here's Green Goblin. Now Gwen's dead. Now Spider-Man's been vanished for 4 months. And then that last scene.
Oh, that's talk about fucking horrible. The weird, I guess what we call the 5-month recovery montage.
Yeah.
That leads to the final scene. Yeah.
Well, yeah, the montage is bad enough, but then it's all the goodwill that was generated in that scene with the kid being bullied and Spidey, fixing his turbine and walking away with him. Let's take all that goodwill and just shit on it.
Yeah.
Because let's pull the same kid out again, and he's going to go and stand in front of Rhino in a Spider-Man costume, which again was done in Iron Man 2.
Yep.
Where the kid has the mock repulsors and Robert Downey Jr. is behind him and blah blah blah. There's not one original idea in this movie, and I think the scriptwriters and Mark Webb, America should start a change.org petition to make sure none of these people ever work on anything comic books, sci-fi, or anything like that that's dear to our hearts ever again. They could do 501 Days of Summer, 600 Days of Winter, 22 Years of Spring. I don't give a shit. I just don't want them near any of these comic book stories moving forward, because they just don't get it. They really don't.
Yeah, it's and according to the IMDb here, you've got 1, 2, 3, so four people that worked on the screenplay in total. 4 on the screen story, 3 on the screenplay. And none of them could come up with something decent in amongst any of it. That's just fucking sad, is what it is. So yeah, it's not a great way to start off the summer.
Well, I mean, Captain America. I mean, look, we're in Southern California. It's been summer since last Summer.
August, yeah, sure, yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah, Captain America started it off. I'm still fingers crossed for X-Men. Guardians of the Galaxy, the first trailer for that, I mean, the soundtrack alone just gave me chills. I
Yeah,
want to see it just because of the music choices in the trailer. And look, we have Godzilla. Two
yeah.
weeks
Well,
to go.
we've got Godzilla in 2 weeks. We've got Dawn of the Planet of the Apes in July, I believe.
Yeah, they just
Uh,
ran a trailer for that tonight after 24. So
yeah.
I got to see that. What else is there? The new one from Luc Besson.
Oh, sure, Lucy, which will be coming out in
Yeah,
August. Yeah, yeah.
that
Well,
looks
that'll be
really
fun.
cool.
Uh,
Yeah,
so, this is interesting. Did you actually think that, or do you actually feel that X-Men: Days of Future Past has a chance? Because nothing about that has interested me whatsoever, and every time they release something new, it just feels like it's sinking further and further into the swamp. So, I mean, is your hope like more of a heart thing, or or do you actually see something going on there that I'm missing?
I had faith in Singer because X-Men 2 was a great movie. That was then totally destroyed by X3. I have faith in Singer. I don't have faith in Fox. We've got a great cast. Unfortunately, the more I'm seeing of the trailers, the CGI looks like a bad Xbox 360 game.
Yeah,
Some of the CGI I'm seeing.
yeah.
It looks like they spent money on Halle Berry's wig this time, which is a step up. I'm honestly, look, the reason I'm going is Peter motherfucking Dinklage as Bolivar Trask. I mean, that's the price, worth the price of admission. And hopefully, he's a good enough actor and he'll carry it off. I mean, he is a guy that I would watch read the phone book.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of his. And I'm hoping that, hoping against hope that this gives us the X-Men story we've always wanted. I mean, Days of Future Past is the second biggest story in the X-Men universe after Dark Phoenix. And we saw what Brett Ratner did with Dark Phoenix in X-Men 3.
Yep.
I may be the annoyed gamer, but I'm always the eternally optimistic moviegoer. I'm hoping against hope. Hell, I'm hoping that the Star Wars films next year is going to be good.
Yeah.
I mean, fingers crossed. So I think, the other thing we should talk about, Justice League's been leaked. We know
Yeah.
Justice League is coming, but we also know who's directing it.
Yeah, we've got some problems there already. And although now, was it Justice League that's being written by Cabin in the Woods guy? Oh God, why can't I think of his name?
Cabin in the Woods was Joss Whedon.
No. But okay, Cabin in the Woods was co-written by Joss Whedon, Drew Goddard. So
Okay.
it was written by Drew Goddard and Joss Whedon, and then directed by Goddard. So Goddard apparently is he's executive producing. No, never mind. He is executive producing the Daredevil show, and then he's doing something else for Marvel.
Yeah, it would make sense because Goddard goes back with Joss Whedon all the way to the Buffy days.
Yeah, so I believe it's something there. So he's not. I don't believe he's writing the Justice League. Ooh, God, don't tell me that it's Goyer again.
Well, let me ask you the question. We know that in, was it 2016, it's Batman versus Superman going the same day as Captain America 3.
Right.
Who's going to blink? Warner Brothers or Disney?
Well, right now, actually, there is talk actually of Disney blinking because I don't think they were expecting. They were not expecting Captain America to be as big as it was, which seems kind of odd. And so now, of course, they are slightly worried a little bit that they will facing off against Batman and Superman. They show some concern. There was a stockholders meeting or something like that where somebody had mentioned that they're pondering possibly moving the date, but nothing official has been said yet. So who knows? To be really honest, I don't want either of them to blink. I would love to see a heads-on showdown between these two, because I don't know when that's ever been done, and that's just fascinating.
I think it would be great if that happened because I think it would lead, best case scenario, to a Justice League movie with a new director.
Yeah, that would be nice. I mean, I think giving any of this to Zack Snyder's tricksy, very, very tricksy. But I mean, the Batman Superman movie already seems like it's off to a bad start. So
I just want to know who does Zack Snyder have pictures of? He has got a cell phone full of pictures of somebody doing something with goats and gerbils and electric eels or something, and he's getting this game because we had the discussion. Superman was bad. Man of Steel was bad.
Yep. Oh yeah.
And I just don't think that I think Superman v Batman is going to be a train wreck of Amazing Spider-Man 2 proportions.
Yeah, I actually think it's got the opportunity to become a bigger train wreck than Spider-Man 2. It's because I mean I mean everything about it is just reeking of not bad planning or poor management, but just again it's again the design by committee. It's what are we going to do? What do we have to do to make this work? What are all the pieces that need to be put together? How do we create fan service while at the same time setting other things up and blah 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 blah? It's how do you pack in too much and you end up with a complete wreck. Hopefully, people will watch Spider-Man 2 and say, okay, we need to avoid that. But of course, some of them may be looking at the box office receipts and saying, now we don't need to worry about it as much as we should.
Well, video game analogy. Activision, Call of Duty, the last one, bad reviews, didn't do as well. So people can turn. But I do get your point. The movie by committee, but I think you're being very optimistic by assuming anybody at Warner Brothers is actually planning this, because I think they basically got in Office Space, that jump to conclusions game.
Yep.
Imagine that, but with superhero stuff on it, and then it's up on the wall, and then they've got one of those Nerf guns that fires scatter shot.
Yeah.
And they just fire it at the wall, and whatever the little Nerf bullets stick into, that's what they do. That's the plan for the next, because it's just like, oh well, we have to leak the Justice League thing because Avengers 2 is going to kick ass. They don't have anybody controlling the destiny. Nolan doesn't want to control the destiny of the DC universe. He did Batman. He's moving on. They need to find their Joss Whedon. They need to find their Kevin Feige, who can basically pull this shit together, who lives, breathes, eats, and drinks DC Universe. And it's bizarre that DC still does the amazing animated series, but can't get any of the live.
That's the thing. That's the bizarre thing, is that their animated movies most of the time are pretty fantastic. They've had a few clunkers along the way, but a majority of them are really solid.
Ones.
What's that?
Way better than the Marvel equivalent.
Oh, completely. Yeah. No, I think the DC ones are completely. That's where DC is really mowing down. Marvel is in the animated department. Paul Dini? Is that his name?
Yeah.
Okay, they need somebody to bring in somebody like him, and I don't know if he's just strictly a Batman aficionado or if he's much deeper into the DC universe than just Batman. But if somebody like him can be brought in to really kind of start to be the Messiah and really start shepherding them in a proper direction, they could be just as unstoppable as Marvel's. But I don't know if it's too late. I don't know how long they would have to wait and kind of lick their wounds before they could actually start gaining our trust back.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a bit of a mess. I mean, it's stunning to me that they're going straight to Justice League before we've had a Wonder Woman movie, because obviously women, female characters in movies, nobody goes for it apparently. Even though last week, 3 female characters, #1 movie in America.
Yeah.
The Hunger Games, that doesn't seem to be working despite having a female lead character.
Yeah.
Some of these guys are just stuck in the Stone Age. We need a kick-ass Wonder Woman movie. We need a new Green Lantern. We need, we need a new Batman movie. Really, I don't think tacking him into, Superman. And then look at what Marvel's doing with Daredevil and with the Defenders in general.
Yep.
And Netflix. So why don't we get the Martian Manhunter? I know we've got the Flash TV series coming, so fingers crossed for that. Because again, on the TV series side, Smallville was a good start. Arrow seems to be getting a lot of people happy, people like that. And Agents of Shield was really rough to start off before they found its legs because of Captain America: The Winter Soldier. So again, that's something that the Warner Brothers have managed to do, bring stuff to the TV. But this isn't going to be, is Green Arrow going to be in the Justice League movie? If so, is it going to be the same guy as is in the Arrow? Because again, there's this disconnect between the Smallville Clark Kent and then the Clark Kent in the movies, the Arrow guy and the Arrow, the Ollie in the Justice League. I mean, it's a mess, and they have all these arms, just like Disney does. It's just Disney has somebody pulling the strings and mapping shit out over the next 10 years across all aspects, except video games, obviously, because they can't seem to get that right. But they've got their shit nailed down, and Warner Brothers needs a DC czar.
Yeah.
Alex.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's the only answer for them right now, because they definitely are just kind of leading through the dark with a lantern that's held by Zack Snyder, and never mind. I don't even want to get into Zack Snyder. Zack Snyder is a lost cause for me.
Green Lantern, if you will. Oh, did you see the trailer for Gotham?
No, I have not seen the trailer for Gotham yet. To be perfectly honest, I saw the post and I couldn't click on it. I could not bring myself to click on it.
Okay, that ran tonight during 24, and that's gonna be. I'm not going to say it's going to be bad, because I think it's going to suffer from the usual Fox TV series. I will probably get to like it by about 4 episodes, and it'll be cancelled at the end of the season, much like Almost Human was. I think it's just going to confuse things even more. It doesn't look like it's the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. plan. It looks like this is the prequel to a Batman that perhaps we're not going to see. And here's a young Poison Ivy as a creepy teenage girl, and here's a Catwoman as a late teens cat burglar, and Riddler looks like just a freak. Yeah, and then the guy from the OC as James Gordon.
Yay. Yeah, well, you're right. You've convinced me. I'm going to watch the trailer now. Thanks, man.
You just look, watch the trailer and let me know what you think. We can have that discussion another time.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Really quick, by the way, I only watched one season of 24, about 2/3 of the way through it. I was never impressed, but I know a lot of people are. How was the day? Now, it was a 2-hour premiere? Does it cover 4 hours, since it's only a 12-episode show?
No, I mean, ironically, it is 24, but it only covers 12 hours. Does that make sense? It's called 24, but this time it's not a 24-hour cycle.
Got it. Okay, so it's actually 12.
Yeah, so it was the first 2 hours, and I came late to the 24 party. I didn't start watching till like season 4, and for seasons 4, 5, and 6. I watched, and by the time season 7 rolled around, I think it was, I'd watched for the first 3 episodes and then fell asleep. But no, I mean, it's Jack. He's in London, so for me that's an interest, because again, it's a location I'm very familiar with. It's got off to a promising start. It doesn't break new ground. It's kind of topical, with drone strikes are in there, and a Wikipedia kind of guy, the Snowden-esque character. So it's got some topical stuff in there, but we'll see. I mean, it's one of those ones that it's Monday night. It's going to be that and Bones, and then Bones is off the air, and it's mindless. It's not going to be Game of Thrones.
Gotcha. Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. So, okay, I guess we'll end it with Spider-Man. Best conditions to see it. I guess if you're going to see it in the theater, wait for video, wait for cable television.
Best condition is if somebody is threatening you with death unless you watch it. That is the only way I could justify anybody going to watch Spider-Man. If somebody says that they are going to physically harm you, or make you watch 500 Days of Summer on loop for 6 weeks.
Okay, that's positive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, look, you know and I know.
Yeah.
Spider-Man 2 is a bag of steaming shit.
There we go. That's what I was waiting for. Thank you very much, sir. All right, I guess we'll just wrap it up there then. Marcus, thank you very much for chatting with me. I'm really grateful that you're actually able to want to hang out for a bit and
Anytime.
Thank you, sir. Really quick for the 2 people out there and for the 14 people who will end up watching this, I've thrown a link to your channel in there as well, but tell people where they can find you.
Yeah, I mean, predominantly on Twitter. I do have my own YouTube channel, but that's kind of on hiatus right now because I'm kind of in the middle of partnering up with somebody. But yeah, follow me on the Twitter. That's the fun place because that's where you get the full, you get the rants about how bad RoboCop was. Because again, that's something we didn't talk about. And you'll get my soccer rants as well as my video game stuff. But yeah, follow me on Twitter, and then you'll find it all after that.
Cool. Well, thank you very much, sir. Tune in. Well, actually, it's not going to matter. Tune in tomorrow night for Film Geek Primer Live, where the 4 of us will be discussing adaptations. We're actually going to look at music, songs, books, comic books, stage plays, adaptions that work, adaptions that don't work, and why. So, everybody, thank you very much for the 2 of you that tuned in for some odd reason, and we appreciate that. And we will talk to y'all soon. All right, have a good evening.